Oh, hi guys. Welcome to another episode of the Amanda Show. My name is Amanda Akalonu, and as usual, we'll be delving into three major news stories coming out of Africa this week. This week has been quite interesting. So, the first story I'm going to discuss is what is going on between the government regulators in Nigeria and the richest man in Africa, who is also the richest black man in the world, Aliko Dangote. Before now, some several weeks ago, Aliko Dangote had mentioned he had made us know that there is an oil cabal that is trying to frustrate his business. Even shortly after he said that, there was a fire outbreak at his Dangote refinery. So, but we thought we had seen the most of it. We thought we had seen the most of it. Then, like the past week, it started brewing for like two or 3 weeks now, but then it just escalated last week and into this week. So I want us to discuss what is going on between Aliko Dangote and his oil refinery and the oil cabal in Nigeria and also the Nigerian government regulators. Then from Dangote, we'll be moving on to a certain trend that I have noticed in Africa around the world, but since this show is focused on Africa, I want us to narrow it down to Africa, and that is de-dollarization. So this week, UAE and Ethiopia agreed to do their transactions with their local currency. We also saw Tanzania and Russia agreed to do transactions in local currencies. I want us to discuss the concept of de-dollarization and why it's important, in fact, why countries are de-dollarizing and why it's even important for Africa to de-dollarize. Then from there, we will still come back to Nigeria. Now, something happened. A This week, I saw a news story, but funny enough, the story is not new. It's been several months now, but I just stumbled upon it this week about the IMF backing the Nigerian government to regulate crypto cryptocurrency in Nigeria. So Nigeria is the number one cryptocurrency spot in Africa, and one of the biggest in the world. The government has been having issues with cryptocurrency since 2021, but recently, this news story that I want to discuss has been it happened like several months ago, but I'm just stumbling upon it. But I want us to discuss that because I also saw so I was a political analyst and he mentioned why Nigerian government is frustrating independent crypto players in the country. And he alleged that is to make way is the IMF's way to frustrate independent players to make way for the adoption of Theta, that's USDT. Now I don't know a lot about cryptocurrency. I want to be honest with you. So I may say some things that you can feel free to push back. But this person made that argument. I thought it was very interesting. So I took time to read about it and I found that I saw some interesting things coming from the CEO of Theta. All this in this episode of the Amanda Show. Thank you for joining me today. And as always, let me know what you think about it, each topic in the comment section below. And I also want to thank those of you who so far have subscribed to this channel, are liking these videos, and are letting me know your opinion in the comment section below. This activity you're giving to this channel helps this channel reach more people in Africa as we come together to build a beautiful continent. Thank you for joining me today, and let's dive into the stories. I know I've said this in several episodes of The Amanda Show, but 2024 is shocking me every week. So one week I think, oh, I have never seen something like this. I didn't expect this happening at all. And then the next week, thinking that I have to talk, but then the next week, something eclipses it. This is the same thing with this story today. I didn't have it on my bingo card that the Nigerian government was going to go again boldly is going to go openly against the richest man in Africa, who is also the richest black man in the world, Aliko Dangote. Let's discuss. So, some months ago, during a press briefing, Aliko Dangote made a statement, and I mentioned it passingly in one of the episodes of the Amanda Show, one of our previous episodes. So, Aliko Dangote made a statement, and he let us know that there is an oil cabal that is trying to frustrate his Dangote refinery to get it out of the market. I thought it was very interesting. I mentioned it in passing. Then another time again, he also alluded to that oil cover. In fact, when shortly after he said that, there was a fire outbreak in his refinery. Everybody said, "Don't worry, it's not sabotage. Don't worry, Dangote refinery is fine." Blah blah blah. So this week, government regulators that are regulating this whole oil something in Nigeria came out openly and said that Dangote is a monopoly. in fact, that Dangote wants the government to send all the oil marketers and all these people who get oil to send them to his refinery. So he's going to dominate the market. And this, oh my Jesus. So this government official went on to say that, but they're not going to let it. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm going to play the video for you, but I'm paraphrasing, but they're not going to let it happen. In fact, um, that the it's important for Nigeria to keep importing oil to ensure instead of allowing Dangote to be in monopoly in the industry, it's important for Nigeria to keep importing oil to ensure energy security. Then he went on to say that Dangote refinery is producing inferior oil. Mark my words, inferior oil. Watch this video and then we'll come back to discuss it.
Concerns about supply of petroleum products nationwide and the claims by some media houses that we're trying to scuttle Dangote refinery. That is not so. Dangote refinery is still in the pre-commissioning stage. It has not been licensed yet. We haven't licensed them yet. They're still in pre-commissioning. I think they're about 45% in completion rather. So we cannot rely heavily on one refinery to feed the nation, because the Dangote is requesting that we should suspend or stop all importation of petroleum products, especially AGO and jet kero, and direct all marketers to the refinery. That is not good for the nation in terms of energy security, and that is not good for markets because of monopoly. So in terms of quality, currently the AGO quality in terms of sulfur is the lowest as far as West African requirement of 50 ppm. Dangote refinery, as well as some modular refineries like Walter Smith's refinery, Arade refinery, they're producing between 650 to 1,200 ppm. So in terms of quality, their quality is much, much inferior to the imported quality.
Did you hear him? That is a very, I wanted to say disrespectful, but disrespectful is is not doing it justice. That's a very silly thing for a government official to say. Very silly. Because as a government official, it is your duty to package your country and the product from your country to look well on the global stage. But if a government official, that is, you're speaking on behalf, you can say you're speaking on behalf of the government, but if a government official is going to come out to say that um, Dangote is a monopoly, Dangote is producing inferior oil, inferior, listen to that word inferior. Then he goes on to say that we need energy security in Nigeria, so therefore we don't need, we should keep importing oil. Here's my take. I'm going to push back on that. Number one, what is energy security? Is energy security not self-sufficiency? That's what it means to me. All those countries are moving to secure themselves. Many of those countries don't have oil. Many of them don't have oil. And those that don't even have oil, many of them have refineries in their countries. Why do they keep refineries in their countries? So that they can ensure energy security. But a government official is saying that energy security means to be dependent on outsiders. Energy security, in fact, the main energy security is allowing Dangote refinery to work. That's what energy security is about. It's to allow Dangote refinery to work. Because if you frustrate it out of the market, you are dependent on import. I want us to look and see how does this thing benefit Nigeria? Because the idea is not just every government official, even not just the government, even the people, everyone should be working in the benefit of Nigeria. You may not like that, or you may think that Dangote is a monopoly. I don't know. I've not looked closely into the whole thing, but it's very possible. So if you think that Dangote is a monopoly, now let us look. Allowing the Dangote refinery function to produce oil for Nigeria, or keeping Nigeria dependent on imports, which is in the favor of Nigeria. My money is on Dangote. Guess how much this thing is really stupid and it's really frustrating Dangote. Because first of all, Nigeria is the largest producer of oil in Africa. It's supposed to be the largest producer, but this whole oil theft and the rest of it is sometimes the number of oil we produce is not as much as it's supposed to be. But normally Nigeria is supposed to be the largest producer of oil in Africa. Nigeria is supposed to be the largest producer of oil in Africa and one of the biggest in the world. Yet, Dangote does not get crude oil from Nigeria. Getting crude oil from Nigeria to refine is a problem. Instead, we are seeing that Dangote refinery is importing crude oil from the United States. Dangote refinery is importing crude oil from Brazil. Dangote refinery is speaking with Libya and Angola to import oil. When Nigeria is sitting on Nigeria is sitting on a flood of crude oil. If that's not bad enough, a government official is now coming out to say that he's producing inferior oil. So there's already allegations that that several officials and several people who are part the oil cabal, like I mentioned earlier, is taking Nigeria's oil. In fact, maybe it's one of these oil that we keep hearing that they are stealing Nigeria's oil, but it's taking Nigeria's crude oil, refining it in Malta, and sending back to us. But let's look at, like I mentioned, I want us to look at how does Dangote refinery benefit Nigeria? If we allow this refinery to function, Nigeria reduces its dependence on imports, meaning it frees us to use our dollar to get other things. Because if you are going to be buying crude oil and fuel and petroleum products from Dangote, we're not buying it in USD, we're buying it in the local currency naira. So this issue that we're having with dollar, at least it will reduce because we are not getting our oil from we're not importing our oil. That's number one. Number two, Dangote refinery functions. It's in adding because it's adding to Nigeria's economic growth. It's employing Nigerians, even as it begins to export crude and petroleum products to other countries around the world, not just in Africa, but around the world. And it's paying tax. It's adding to Nigeria's economic growth. So this idea of importing oil does not benefit Nigeria. It benefits outsiders because we used to get our oil from refineries in Europe, places like Netherlands. It affects them. So if we keep on importing, it's adding to the economy of European countries that do not have oil. That do not have oil. But who are we? Who is now who is looking to it to see that the European interest is preserved and the Western interest is preserved in Nigeria? Nigerian players, people like the NNPC and this government regulator that has the audacity to come out without evidence to say Dangote is producing inferior oil when it does not even have, at least according to Dangote, they don't even have the lab to test the quality of the petroleum products. Later, these are the people who come out to say we are demarketing Nigeria, but they are the biggest demarketers of Nigeria. If outside players, legit businesses who want to come in to do business in Nigeria, if they see the way you're treating a Nigerian business owned by a Nigerian who has added so much to the Nigerian economy, if they see the way you're frustrating him out of the market, why should they come in? Why should they come in to do business in Nigeria? Why? Why? So you see why many sometimes when I advocate for working with everybody and several people coming to say, oh, that many of these are leaders in Africa and those in prominent positions in Africa, they don't work in the benefit of Africa. They work in the benefit of outsiders. Because keeping Nigeria dependent on outside oil, it does not benefit Nigeria. It's benefiting outside players, external players. It's benefiting external players. I really don't know if Nigeria and many other countries across Africa, if they want to die on imports. So we have this idea, which is really wrong and does us more harm than good, that things that we import are better because they are far superior to local products. Yes, in some areas it could be true. But if you want to build an economy and you're serious about building the economy of Nigeria, you know the importance of supporting local businesses. You know the importance. It's in, for example, let's use this issue of cars. There was sometime last year that a government official also, I watched the video, said that made in Nigeria cars are substandard. She said it boldly. I don't know if I can find, but if I find the video, I'll put it. But if I can't find the video, I'm sorry. But she said it boldly that made in Nigeria cars are substandard. How can you open your mouth to say this thing? When you go to the United States, you see um, Biden and US officials, they're driving American cars. They're driving Teslas and Fords. You go to Europe, you see government officials in Germany, they're driving German cars. You look at China, Xi Jinping and his cabinet and government officials, they're driving made in China cars, Chinese cars. You look at Russia, Putin and his government officials. In fact, even I believe that was 2 years ago or so. They made it mandatory for government officials to drive made in Russian cars. They're driving Russian cars, but it's in Africa you see that we spend billions importing cars for our government officials. Why are we not driving Nigerian cars? That will be adding to the economy because these people are working in the country. I don't know how someone like me who's just using my phone to do these videos, I know more of these things than our so-called officials. So how did they get into government in the first place? How is it that the worst of us are leading the rest of us? If you want to grow the economy of Nigeria, it's to put and feed local businesses, not frustrate them out of the market, to serve outsiders, and then just a handful of of of, of people in Nigeria. If a whole Dangote is complaining, a whole Dangote, the richest man in Nigeria, the richest man in Africa, the richest black man in the world, in with net worth of tens of billions of dollars, if Dangote is complaining, then what about other businesses? You know, there's something that people tend to say. There's this lady, ah, I think it's in Margaret Wade. I'll find her phone name and I'll put it. She always says that the reason for Africa's economic issue is the fact that Africa is not a good place to do business. She always says it, but me, in some instances, I push back against that because some of the arguments she makes are not completely true. But these things like this that gives her and others weapons to say, give them evidence to say this is what I'm saying. Because you tell me, why does it make sense to frustrate and punish a Nigerian business? A business like Dangote that is employing thousands. Okay, one of the things he came out to say as a result of this fight between he and the government, one of the things he came out to say is that he intended to start a steel plant. He said he's not doing it again before they call him monopoly. But how many other people have access to the funds that Dangote has? How many other Nigerians have access to the contacts and the resources that Dangote has? So he is actually in the best since the government. Look at the Achokota, I can't remember the name of that steel plant that has been off for how many decades? It was the Soviets that helped Nigeria, worked with Nigeria to build that steel plant. Till today, it's not functioning. Till today, as we speak, it's not functioning. So it's clear everybody knows that Nigeria needs a steel plant. What about the one? There was this one that set up by Indians some years ago. But this year they left the Nigerian market. Why? Because they said it's hard, very difficult to do business in Nigeria. They said they left or they said they were going to leave because of the policies that this administration has put in place that are frustrating businesses, both energy policies and then the inflation and the rest, economic policies in general. So it's either they have left or they said they were going to leave. It's another thing. So we need a lot of steel plants in Nigeria. But for now, Dangote is the one best suited to be able to give us this thing. Not because, oh, he's the savior of Nigeria, but because he has access to the resources we need. Like the resources needed to set this thing up. But now he said he's not doing it because of the backlash. And he said, oh, before they call him a monopoly. Who is it affecting? This decision they have made. It's not really affecting Dangote. He's a rich man. Dangote is a billionaire. The money he has is not it's enough for him and his plenty down the line. Who does it affect at the end of the day? It affects Nigeria. These people in office are supposed to be advocating for the interest of Nigeria, yet they are working against the benefit of Nigeria. There are several other um, prominent business people who have come out, like what's his name, um, Femi Otedola, like Femi Otedola. He has come out to speak against this thing. Even the head of the Bank, see Adebumi, I can't remember. I'll put his name here. He has also pushed back against this thing. Everybody is clear to everybody that this is a stupid decision from the government officials and the regulators to punish Dangote, to frustrate Dangote out of the market. At the end of the day, these policies are injuring Nigeria, they're damaging Nigeria. If you want to build the economy of Nigeria and the economy of Africa, you cannot look away from businesses. Businesses are the backbone of any economy. Let's look at now they tell you we are throwing ideas in the air. This is how we build. This is how we build. But many of these ideas they are thrown in the air. Some of them have not been implemented. So we don't know how they would work. So the best way to check to see how to actually grow an economy is to look at history and look at the economies that have grown. What did they do? What helped them? Now we look at United States. The backbone of the US economy, that United States became a global force, was not because they were saying they were doing crazy things against businesses. It was to allow businesses grow. The likes of Rockefeller, the likes of Ford. You say, oh, sometimes they say, oh, the reason why we keep importing is that African products are substandard, African cars are substandard. Go and look at when they started with cars in the United States. The cars didn't start like this now. The cars didn't start like this. Look at the first iPhones. It didn't start like this. You remember, okay, and you say, oh, that was years ago. So, well, now the whole technology has advanced, so we need to advance with it. Remember, let's look at China. The cars had already advanced per se. When China came on the scene and said, no, we need to begin to do Chinese cars. Even I remember when they told Elon Musk that Chinese electric cars were going to pose a threat to Tesla. Elon Musk laughed. Today, Chinese electric cars are number one in the world. Electric cars from China are the number one in the world. Why? Because the Chinese government, even if it's a communist government, no communist is supposed to be like, oh, the argument that communism doesn't give room for businesses to thrive, but it allowed businesses to thrive. So we should learn. Instead of we to be thinking of ideas that are far-fetched that have not been implemented, so we don't know. Let us look at the way history works. How did these economies grow? Like I mentioned, United States. We had the Vanderbilts, we had the Carnegies, we had the Rockefellers, we had the Fords, we had all those people who complained that these guys were monopolies, but they worked for in the interest of the United States. Look at Europe. When Europe became global economic superpower, what was it? Businesses were the backbone. Look at China. Look at China. We complain, oh, communism, communism, communism. Look at the businesses that are going up in China. How many billionaires do you see on this Bloomberg and Forbes list? How many of them are from China? A lot. Why? Businesses. So if you want to grow Africa, if you want to grow Nigeria, you cannot treat businesses like this and you think, and they know well, they know fully well. These people who are doing this, they know fully well. They are trying to frustrate Dangote to benefit outside external players and a handful of internal players who are benefiting from this system. There's something I want to say before I round up this segment. There's something I want to say. See the way your country is in Africa, and you're complaining you don't like it. All across Africa, see the way your country is. There are several people in your country who are benefiting from the way your country is. There are several people in your country who are benefiting from that chaos as much as external players and external countries are benefiting. So it is in their interests, their selfish interest, to let your country stay like that. You may say, but a lot of people are poor. They don't care. Africa is so backward compared to the rest of the world. They don't care. The more backward it is, the better for them. So I said that to say this. As we are coming together to say we want to build Africa, as we are coming together to say we want to pull Africa out of poverty, as we are coming together to say we want to make Africa a formidable player on the global stage, know fully well that there are several people in Africa and in your respective countries that don't want that thing to happen. Why? Because they're benefiting from the chaos. So we will build Africa, but we are going to build Africa bearing in mind that these people and these players exist. Dangote, you think that because it's so big, it should be immune to all this kind of of conspiracy. But you clearly see he is not. Dangote is not. So talk more of we who are who are coming in to say, oh, Africa can change and we want it to change. We will change Africa. I'm telling you, there's no doubt in my mind. Listen, there's no doubt in my mind. We are going to build Africa. We are going to transform Africa. We are going to make poverty a thing of the past in Africa. Me and you know, don't look for, don't say, she's talking to somebody. It's not, it's you. You that you feel like you've not eaten all day. It is you, me and you that will do it. We are going to do all these things. We are going to make Africa a formidable player on the global stage. But I want you to keep in mind, even as I keep in mind, that as you are going out to do this thing for Africa, there are people who are going to say no. And me and you, we are going to get backlash. We are going to get sabotage like this, like what Dangote is saying. We are going to see a lot of it. But I brought that up to say, keep your mind stayed on what you want to do in Africa. Because the transformation of Africa is in our interest. The transformation of Africa is in the interest of Africans. The transformation of Africa is in the interest of all of us, not in the interest of a handful of people who want to keep this continent and even Nigeria in such a chaotic mess. We will build Africa, but we will build and we will build it. We will transform Africa and we'll transform it. We will make Africa a formidable player on the global stage, and we will do it in spite of those people who are benefiting from the chaos. Next, we come to the trend of de-dollarization that has been going on around the world and even in Africa for several years now. So, in case you don't know, de-dollarization in a nutshell is countries moving away from the USD. Now, since for a while this thing has been going on, but I believe it escalated in 2022. I want to discuss de-dollarization as it's taking place in Africa. Why I'm bringing this up is because this week we saw that the United Arab Emirates and Ethiopia they agreed to do transactions in their local currency. Also, this week, we saw Tanzania and Russia agree to do transactions in their local currency. And before now, there's been several instances, like I know that India and Nigeria have agreed to do transactions in local currencies. China and Nigeria. We've also seen India and Tanzania. We've seen um, South Africa and Russia. There's been a lot all across the continent. A lot of countries are beginning to do transactions in their local currencies away from the US dollar. So why are countries de-dollarizing? I'm not an expert on economy. These are things that I am learning from reading. To answer that question, we are going to look back at how the United States dollar became the world's reserve currency. Now, following World War II, the countries in Europe they were gone. They were literally broke. Now, before then, the world money has always been backed up by gold. The idea is so maybe for every £1, there is an equivalent to maybe sterling silver or gold or some commodity because that the fact that it's backed up by something means you cannot go around recklessly printing money because if you keep printing, we saw that in Zimbabwe, we saw that in Germany. If you keep printing even Argentina, if you keep printing like that, the value of the currency loses its value. So even the USD, United States dollar, was backed up by gold, meaning that for every dollar there was a gold equivalent somewhere. So therefore, the value of dollar is the value of gold. But Richard Nixon in the 1970s, he removed the United States dollar from gold. He removed it from the gold standard, meaning it was no longer backed up by anything. So therefore, the United States dollar was backed up by the the power and the might of the of the United States, even their military. Because I've seen several people say that the US dollar is backed up by the military of the United States. Well, it was backed up by something, which is the US military or the word of the United States, or maybe even propaganda, US propaganda. But anyway, because it's not backed up by anything, so therefore it's paper. US dollar is paper. It was backed up when it was backed up by gold. We could say this paper because at the end of the day, it's currency is paper. We can say this paper is gold. So at the end of the day, it's gold that you're using. It's something. It's a commodity that is tangible. But now it's just funny. It's funny money. So anyway, Richard Nixon removed it from the gold standard, and then gradually, the United States now got intoxicated. It was on the gold standard when the world pegged or every other currency was pegged to the USD. It was on the gold standard. So we had all given our strength and our might and our trust to the USD. They didn't ask us in Africa. They didn't ask us, but no problem. They did consult us, but no problem. So we had already given our strength and our might to the United States dollar when Nixon removed it. Then gradually the United States started getting to a spending spree. As they were spending, because the rest of us had to hold dollar, it didn't lose its value compared to the other currencies. If you dare in your country now to print your local currency carelessly, you will see it to turn to zero because it's paper. But because the rest of us had to hold dollar to do transactions, right? The United States could print without getting the consequences of being reckless with their printing. Even the same situation, one of the things they also did was to get the petrodollar in place that Saudi Arabia and United States agreed to sell their Saudi oil only in USD. So because they're selling Saudi oil only in USD, oil is the most traded commodity in the world. You need oil in your country, so you buy you therefore you need USD. So you, if one of the reasons why US can print one reason they can maintain its 800 military base, 800 plus military bases around the world is because it can afford it, and it can afford it because it's printing money, and it's printing money without getting the consequences of reckless printing because we are holding dollar. So number one, that's I'm just pointing that out. That's number one. So, but the whole world already knows that United States USD is backed up by nothing. So therefore, our own currencies that are pegged to the USD are backed up by nothing. Therefore, every money in circulation is funny money, as Robert Kiyosaki says. The United States is even owing how much deficits? I believe the US GDP is like 20, is it 22 or 23 trillion dollars? I'll put it on the screen. I don't remember it now. But yeah, that's where their GDP is. But United States debt is like 34 or 35 trillion dollars. You see the deficit. It can never pay this thing. But still, we are locked in. Do you get where I'm coming from? Now let's look at it in Africa, developing nations. Because we are holding USD, whenever so not just us though, but the whole world, but I want us to look at it from our perspective. Because we're holding USD, whatever the Federal Reserve does, it would affect us. You know, they say US, how do they say that US sneezes and the world catches a cold, something like that. Oh, the US dollar, whatever they do in the Federal Reserve, it affects us. So now there's been crazy inflation in US because well they say it's because of the printing that happened from Trump into Biden for the COVID relief that they were really giving money all over the place. Now everybody knows that inflation is really when too much money is chasing too little products. There's too much money in the supply system compared to products to purchase. So that's what leads to inflation. So because of all the money the United States has been printed during COVID, right? It means that, and remember that during COVID, people were at home, so there was not much output, products. There was not much output so because people were at home. So all that money in this system caused inflation. Now, what Jerome Powell, I believe that is the name of the Fed guy, what Jerome Powell is doing is now to do. Oh, there's something they call it when I can't remember it now. I'll find that put on the screen. But when you're removing the number of money in the you're putting policies to reduce the number of money in supply. Now, the more so they're increasing interest rates like that. One of those things they are doing is to increase interest rates to discourage borrowing, and because you're discouraging borrowing, you're reducing the number of money in supply. Now, because this thing is happening and the US is doing this, it's affecting us. So therefore, dollar is getting stronger, and as dollar is getting stronger, our own local currencies are getting weak. That means importation is expensive because we have to, we import with USD. Importation is expensive. Apart from importation expensive, repaying our debt is expensive. Maybe when your government took loan from the IMF or the World Bank, it was $1 to 100. I'm just giving an instance, maybe $1 to 100 naira. But now with this whole economic policies going on in the United States, and your own local currency, the naira has crashed against the dollar. Therefore, to pay that debt now, so therefore $1 is maybe like 1,000 naira now. So you now need a lot more of your own currency to pay back the debt. Meaning paying back your debt and servicing your debt is even more expensive. So this is the reason why a lot of countries have been so dissatisfied with the USD. Then we now add to the height. I believe this is what accelerated the whole de-dollarization thing was after Russia marched into Ukraine and the United States weaponized the dollar. With all the sanctions they threw at Russia, they seized Russia's foreign reserves, dollar reserves. I believe it was around $300 billion or so. They seized it. In fact, one of the things they are thinking of doing now is to steal Russia's money. Because it's stealing. There's not how you want to do it. There's no legal way you want to maneuver that thing. It's stealing. But they want to take Russia's money and give it to Ukraine. In fact, one of the Saudi Arabia came and told them in Europe that if they do that, that's how they remove the investment in their country. So now they say, okay, we're not going to take Russia's money and give Ukraine. We are going to take the interest of Russia's money and give Ukraine. Is it not, if the money is your own, the interest is your own? So these are the things that the world has been seeing, and they say no more, because if I upset Washington, What they and Russia could withstand because Russia has a big economy. What if they do to speak we in Africa? Will collapse. So this is what is the incentive, what is making the whole dollarization thing take place. And many of these countries in Africa are saying no, we're not going to put all our eggs in the USD basket. Let's spread it. In fact, maybe you've been hearing that BRICS are even discussing creating a currency, a pool of currencies that they will use to do transactions within themselves. So how does this benefit our countries in Africa? I think it does. In fact, you should tell from what I have said that I'm completely in support of the dollarization. But that doesn't mean US is going to completely disappear. It's not going to be part of our everyday lives. Of course not. I don't think it's going to be like that. But if we can spread, you know how they say don't put all your eggs in one basket. If we can spread uh, options, if you have many more options, it benefits us. So number one, the way we follow we follow the US, the event in Washington, sorry, in the Federal Reserve, we follow US and economic policy so closely because whatever they do affects us. But once we de-dollarize, right, we can then take the driver's seat with navigating our economy and our economic policies. So what I'm saying in essence is we will not have to so closely follow the United States and the economic policies. We will then be able to enter the driver's seat to take charge and take control of the way our local currencies go. That's number one. Number two, when we're importing, imports will not be so expensive because we are not using only dollar. And in fact, once we have less use of dollar, the price of the dollar against our local currencies will drop because the demand will drop. Do you understand? So this issue where you're seeing, oh, dollar is 117 or is 19 in Nigeria against just $1. Oh, it is so and so in Kenya, it is so and so in Egypt. All these things, the dollar will not be flying like that anymore because the demand for it will reduce. And everybody, the basics of economy is demand and supply. The more the demand, the more the price. The more the supply, the less the price. So because we will not be using the USD as much, it will not be so when we even want to import with USD, it will not be flying out of control because we are using other currencies, both local and maybe other global players. Everybody is using them for this currency. So you can clearly tell that I'm in support of the dollarization. Having said that, I don't think it's going to be very easy to de-dollarize because the United States will not allow it. Well, I don't think, I don't expect the United States to go down without a fight. Remember that one of the reasons that NATO did what they did in Libya in 2011 against Gaddafi, one of the reasons was because Gaddafi was looking to create a currency for Africa backed up by gold. That was one of the reasons. It was Gaddafi was looking to create a currency for Africa backed up by gold for us to use to do our transactions within the continent. And US was not going to let it happen. So of course, US is going to there's going to be really real pushback. But this is in the interest of Africa. It's in the interest of Africa to de-dollarize. In fact, encourage your leaders, encourage your policymakers to seek alternative to the USD. Let us not keep everything, especially we in Africa, because when you say the world suffers from USD, but whatever the world suffers, multiply our own. You need to multiply our own. Ours is a lot more. Ours is a lot more. So I congratulate all the countries in Africa that are coming out regardless to say let us look for alternative means of transactions outside of the United States. Not because this is not because we hate the US. It's not against the US. It's in the like, and just mentioned the reasons why countries are looking to dollarize. It's in the interest of your country. So you can't say, oh, because I really like the United States, I'm going to blow up my own country. It does not make any sense. So, for example, Tanzania is not going to say, oh, because we really like the United States, we are going to blow up Tanzania's economy. No. If you see options that benefit your country, you follow it. So, those people who are saying this trend of de-dollarization is Russia and China that are instigating it, maybe it's because they are US rivals and they want to punish the United States. There's not much, maybe, but yes, Russia and China are rivals of the United States. Maybe Russia and China are the forefront of de-dollarization, yes, but that does not mean it does not benefit your country. I've said it by now, you should have seen a pattern in this show. Everything I advocate for is what benefits Africa, what benefits and benefits our respective countries. The dollarization benefits us. It does. A lot, it does. So don't say we are going to stick with the USD because we are friends of the Americans. No, they dollarize. This new update between UAE and Ethiopia, between Russia and Tanzania. It's not a move against, it's not an anti-US move. No, it's a pro-Tanzania move. It's a pro-Ethiopia move. So let me know what you think about this move from Ethiopia and Tanzania to do transactions with UAE and Russia outside of the US dollar. Let me know what you also think about the whole de-dollarization movement that is going on in the world now. Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel. And also share this video with your friends so we can spread this word out to reach more people across the continent and around the world. Now for our final story today. This is, first of all, I want to mention I'm not a crypto expert. I don't really understand it completely. But I'm bringing this up because I saw someone make a very interesting statement, and this is about Nigeria, by the way. Someone make a very interesting statement, and it led me to take my time to go and begin to read. And I saw that the thing that I don't even know how this thing escaped me, how it escaped me. I don't know. But the person mentioned that the IMF is pushing Nigeria to regulate, in parentheses, frustrate independent crypto platforms so that they can open the way for to use Theta, that is USDT, in Nigeria because Nigeria is already a crypto haven. Like we are used to using crypto already. So I say we are used to using we use crypto already. It's already in more than I believe they said 70% of transactions above $1,000 in Nigeria is done in crypto. So I want you to understand how, and it's mostly among the millennials and Gen Z. I want you to understand how much crypto is already a part of the Nigeria economy. So it's already settled that crypto is a part of Nigeria. There's nothing you can do about it. Then the person said that the IMF is pushing Nigeria to regulate, in parentheses, for straight independent crypto platforms so that they can give way for the implementation of USDT in Nigeria. I thought that was very interesting. Now, like I said before, I'm not a crypto person. I read here and there, but not like I'm not a crypto expert. So I want us to discuss this, laying out the evidence, the things I just saw. Because after the person made that claim, I decided to go to do some reading. So it wasn't even like I spent several months researching, just a few hours reading on Google, and I saw some things that I thought were very interesting. So I want to lay out the things that I saw so that you will make your decision. I'm not saying yes or no, but I want you to make your decision. Number one, we've already established that Nigeria is number one when it comes to cryptocurrency. Nigeria is number one in Africa, one of the biggest in the world. We've already established that. So therefore, that means that you cannot, no matter what you do, you cannot remove the crypto behavior from Nigeria. Back in 2021, the previous administration, government in Nigeria, had banned crypto. It didn't work. You just people would just use VPN and the rest of it to continue their thing. So it didn't work. So and everybody already knows that the IMF does not like Bitcoin. When it comes Bitcoin, the IMF does not like it. It's been pushing back against Bitcoin for as long as I remember. But now, these are the things I want to lay out. So we've established Nigeria using cryptocurrency. Number two, the IMF told Nigerian government to regulate crypto independent crypto platforms in Nigeria. This year we saw the Nigerian government go against head on, go against Binance. In fact, even I there was something somebody said. I'm going to debate it just for a few seconds. There was something somebody said some months ago. I heard the person say that in 2022. Yeah, 2022. And that person was very right. The person said that if you follow politics too seriously, you get angry. But if you look at it like a like a comedy show, if you look at it like a comedy show, sometimes you won't get so upset. This year, the Nigerian government came and they were already pushing back against crypto. Then they the executives from invited the executive from Binance to come and have conversation with them, right? Let's see, because they said that these people are using a lot of people are using Binance to bet against the platform to bet against Nigerian naira, so it's affecting our country's economy. So the executives of Binance came with their clean mind. They came with their clean mind to have conversation with the Nigerian government. Okay, let us see how we can work together so that it does not really to address the issues that the government is laying before them. Once these executives of Binance came, government arrested them. It's not funny, I know. It's a very bad thing because it gave Nigeria a very terrible image on the global stage. But I'm thinking of the ridiculousness of this thing. I arrested these executives. So one of them even did prison break. One of them even did prison break, escaped detention. But all these things were happening. They were attacking, the government was attacking crypto platforms all over the place. I didn't understand it. So it was when this person said this thing, I took my time to check. And I found out that it's true. That the IMF actually told Nigerian government to regulate crypto. And I don't know what they told them at the back, at behind closed doors. I just know this is what they came out to say. But maybe behind closed doors, they gave them thumbs up because by now, I don't trust the IMF. In fact, I wanted to cover another story today. I wanted to cover another story today about the IMF is going to Egypt. Let me just say it in secret. The IMF is going to Egypt. And so ahead of the IMF officials coming to Egypt, the Egyptian government has also increased fuel, the price of petroleum products, right? So this is how many? This is consecutive, maybe like the fourth or fifth increase in a short period of time, just so that the IMF can see we're serious about this whole um, petroleum product something, so the IMF can give them the loan they are looking for. So I wanted to discuss that today, but I said, I'm talking about Nigeria and crypto. I still also want to talk about Egypt and increasing the price of petroleum products. So I said, and everything is IMF. I said, before this episode, look as if it's just anti IMF. Let me leave Egypt and discuss Nigeria. So that's why I didn't talk about that. But like I was saying, you already know I don't like the IMF. So when I was going to do my research on this thing, just for a few hours, I was going to do my research on this thing. I already had my bias. So like that's why I mentioned I don't know what they told them behind closed doors. But outside, this is what they told all of us. The Nigerian government should regulate crypto platforms in the country. Okay. Now I said, all right, let me check. Because the person who made this statement that is making me do this now, the person said so that it will open the way for implementation of the USDT in Nigeria. So I went to check USDT. I looked at, I always thought it was like digital dollar. That's what I thought it was. It wasn't, but now it's beginning to look like USDT. I said that because I want to show you something. So the person said, I went to do my reading and I found out that USDT is Theta and it's more like it's backed up. It's supposed to be a coin, like crypto. It's crypto backed up by USD. It's a stable coin. They're pegging this coin to the US dollar. Now, if you listen to our previous segment, you know that the US dollar is not backed up by anything. It's thin air. It's backed up by nothing. So pegging a crypto to US dollar, well, no problem. I will found out that there's several allegations that USDT is not really backed up by anything. I've seen all those controversies. Well, I said, all right, let me now look at. So I started reading about more about you, Theta, and the company and the rest of it. So I saw an interview from the CEO of Theta that I want to read. I thought it was very interesting. Like I said before now, is this Theta, that's USDT, is just US crypto backed up by US dollar, but it's beginning to look like a digital dollar. Let me read this for you. So this is an interview between the CEO of Theta and the Block. The Block is a publication, a media publication that covers the world of crypto. So the CEO of Teta, his name is Paulo Adoino. Now he said something that I want to read. Two things about this. I'm going to link the article so that you can go and read it. But listen, this is what they say. It says the blog is saying, while traditionally stablecoin trading volumes have closely followed the overall cryptocurrency market, Adorino told the blog he sees indications that USDT is gradually decoupling from other digital assets. Now, this is Adorino talking. He says, over time, it's decoupling from the pure crypto industry. I would consider today USDT more like a digital dollar, not even a cryptocurrency anymore. One. Now, second thing I want, so therefore he's calling it, the CEO of Tether is saying that USDT is a digital dollar, is not a crypto anymore. Now, I want to show you something. Adorino pointed to the fact that USDT daily trading volumes often exceeded those of Bitcoin and Ether combined. He views the company's token evolving into a global payment system. Listen, the CEO of Tether is looking at USDT, that is the company's token, evolving into a global payment system increasingly favored by nations that produce raw materials while simultaneously battling high inflation. Many countries in Africa fit this bill, that are nations that produce raw materials while simultaneously battling high inflation. A lot of countries in Africa are seeing high inflation. A lot of countries in Africa produce raw materials. Keep that in mind. So now I'm quoting him. He said, we are seeing USDT being used for purchasing cotton, purchasing also gold. It's an asset interest, but we are getting a lot of questions about how USDT could revolutionize and help the commodities industry. So those two things, the CEO of Tether is saying that number one, Tether USDT is no longer just cryptocurrency. It is now a digital dollar. Number one. Number two, it says that countries that are battling high inflation and produce raw materials are going to use it as a payment system. Now, my question is, like I said, I just want to lay out evidence, just some things that someone I was reading about. I didn't plan to do this topic. I wanted to talk, like I mentioned, I wanted to discuss Egypt and the raising of fuel cost of petroleum products. But I said, let me lay this thing out so that everybody can we can rub minds. So if you're the United States and the world is increasingly moving away from USD, and you've seen that there's no way to reverse the trend of de-dollarization, one of the best things you can do is to think of how to put yourself in the future where you would still people will still need the dollar. Because if USDT is backed up by dollar, supposedly, because a lot of people are saying it's not really backed up by dollar, it's not backed up by anything, because they're producing the token a lot. But let's leave that. Let's just take them at their word and say it is really backed up by dollar. If it is backed up by dollar, and the United States or the IMF opens way, these are just speculations, but the IMF regulates other crypto platforms in Africa, in Nigeria, opening the way for USDT to be a payment system in Nigeria. It does that not still mean that we're using dollar? Because the CEO of Tether just came out to tell us now that it is that Tether is a digital dollar. It's no longer a normal token. It's a digital dollar. And he specifically said that the nations that will use Tether are nations that are producing raw materials and are battling high inflation. So I'm asking, is this not another way of, if this is what is really going on in Nigeria? I said, if this is what is really going on in Nigeria with the fighting the government, because I didn't understand with the government ceaselessly battling um, other crypto platforms. If this is really what's going on in Nigeria, is this a way to still keep us hooked on the USD? Not just Nigeria, I mean, and maybe also, not just Nigeria and Africa, but maybe it will still spread to other countries around the world. Is this a way to still keep us hooked on USD? Because if you're the United States, you do not want the dollar to go out of style. I'm just asking, I don't know. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Like I said, I'm not a crypto person. I don't completely understand the world of crypto. I heard someone say this, like I mentioned, and I thought it was very interesting because we saw the Nigerian government go head on against Binance and on other crypto platforms, independent crypto platforms. So is this a way to like the person specifically said it's a way to open the market to bring in USDT as a payment system in Nigeria? I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. As always, feel free to share this video with your friends. Don't forget to like this video and hit the subscribe button. Well, that's it. That's all we can cover in this episode of the Amanda Show. From the Nigerian government going head on, or the Nigerian regulators going head on with the richest man in Africa and the richest black man in the world, Aliko Dangote, to the trend of de-dollarization taking place in Africa, and even the proposed trend of re-dollarization with with USDT, that it looks like it's happening in Nigeria and maybe it even spread to other parts of Africa. Let me know what you think about each of these topics in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and share this video with your friends and those close to you as we're coming together to build our amazing continent of Africa. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.